Go nuts for Ben Richardson! About right height. G'day, I'm Ben. I'm a sign language interpreter. Been a sign language interpreter for about 11 years. That was 5 years in Melbourne, and then I moved down here. So now for the last 6 years, I've been a sign language interpreter here in Tasmania. So just before we begin, I do want to say I've got a bit of a sore throat. It's the tail end. I did all the RATs and the PCRs, and it's not COVID. It's nothing like that. I haven't had COVID. It was just like a cold or a flu or something like that. Did you know, actually in Auslan, Australian Sign Language, it's the same sign for all of those. Like it's the same sign for cold, it's the same sign for flu, it's the same sign for sniffles, it's the same sign for I've got too much cocaine up my nose. Like they're all the same sign. So when COVID started in 2019, we had to think of a new sign for it. Like we couldn't just use that one, you know. So we borrowed the sign from America, the American sign for flu. We use that for the sign for COVID here in Australia, and it's that, right? So whether it's like that's the cell, and that's the proteins coming off it, and that's the sign for COVID. So according to the deaf people, COVID came from America. But like I said, I'm an Auslan interpreter. That's Australian Sign Language. It's not ASL. ASL is American Sign Language. They're bigger and they got in first, so they got ASL before we did. So we're Auslan. We're Auslan Sign Language interpreters. And the difference, the main difference between Auslan and ASL is that Auslan, we use two hands to do the alphabet. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like that. In American Sign Language, they use the one hand. So it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, like that. I don't know how to do it, but give you RSI, I reckon. But their theory is they do it with one hand, and they can do something else with the other hand. Like you could be talking on this hand, playing chess with this hand, you know. Or you could be talking with this hand, well, it's America, you know, so you'd be talking with this hand, shooting a gun with this hand. I quite like the idea that you could be talking with this hand, you could have another conversation on the other hand. You know? Yeah, g'day Barry, just talking to Sam on the other hand. So, I do love being a sign language interpreter. Like, I get to do such a wide variety of jobs every day. It's fantastic. I can tell you guys about one job I did. This happened just at the end of last year. I got booked to interpret an interpretive dance show. True story. It was down at the Theatre Royal, and I arrived there and went, hey, I'm your Auslan interpreter. And I met the director. I'm like, hey, what do you want me to interpret in this show? And she's like, oh, just interpret the music. You'll be fine, just interpret the music. And I'm like, oh, no worries, cool. So we start the show, we come out onto stage, I walk out with the director, and we walk out so they're in front of the audience, and they're all there in front of us, and the director does the acknowledgement to the country, and then she does all a big thank you to everyone who's been involved, making this show happen, and all the months of preparation, da-da-da. I interpret that bit, that's fine. And then she walks off stage, and then I walk to the side of the stage to my spot, and I stand there, and they put this big spotlight on me, boom. All right, I'm standing there. And then the show starts. And all these young men and women come onto stage dancing beautifully. And then the music starts. And there are no words at all. I'm still standing here with the spotlight on me. I'm just going, thinking, oh, wow, what do I do now? Maybe I'll just interpret the beat of the music, you know? But no, then I'm dancing, right? They're professional dancers. That's not my job. Thinking, all right, maybe I'll interpret the way the music's making me feel. I mean, that's what they're doing through interpretive dance. That's not my job either. So in the end, I just did this. The music's getting a little bit louder now. Music's a little bit softer now. I did that for an hour. And then we get to the end of the show, and it ends, and all the dancers drop dramatically onto the stage, and the lights turn off, and I'm like, sweet, I'm out of here, this has been weird. But then suddenly the lights turn up, and this dancer goes for a hand, and we all go out, and we all hold hands, and we all go, hey, 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 take them out. The audience is applauding, I go nuts, it's fantastic. The director walks out, she's going, oh, thank you, what a wonderful show, how fantastic was that? How good were the dancers? How brilliant was the choreography? How good was the sign language interpreter? Wasn't he amazing? And I'm like, oh my God, they love me. They love my volume control. See, so I've interpreted theatre, I do a lot of that sort of stuff. I really want to interpret TV. We don't get to do that much in Australia. Like, we don't get much TV interpreting. Like, I want to interpret drama. I want to interpret TV shows, you know. Like, I reckon it could work. Like, I'll show you how it could work. Like, it could work with a great Australian TV drama like Home and Away. Such a great Australian TV drama. I'll show you how it works. Right, so we'll set the scene. Like, so you've got the screen there, and in the corner you have a box with the sign language interpreter, me, interpreting everything into sign language, right? So I'll set the scene. So it's a lovely sunny day. We're on Summers Bay. There's all these beautiful people hanging out on the beach, and then suddenly somebody will run into shot and go, oh my God, there's been a robbery down at the surf club. What are we going to do? And then me, in the corner, in the little box, I'll interpret that, and I'll go, because I reckon the quality of the sign language should reflect the quality of the acting. We don't do that in Australia, though. We only have sign language interpreters when there's an emergency or something like that. You know, when there's a flood or there's fires or COVID or something like that. That's the only time we have sign language interpreters. You know, they'll be on there giving out the warnings, giving out the contact details of the emergency services, and you know, giving the rules and the mask mandates and the updates and all the rest of it. You know, when they're standing there interpreting all this, standing next to the politicians. That's the only time we have interpreters on television. Actually, speaking about politicians. Scott Morrison. Now, Scott Morrison, he was the only modern Australian Prime Minister to not get his own sign name. Right? Every other Australian Prime Minister had their own sign name, like their own nickname given to them by the deaf community. I asked around, I asked all the other interpreters, I asked the deaf community, what do you sign for ScoMo, for Scott Morrison? And they go, oh, we just fingerspell, ScoMo, that's it. Like, oh, that's a bit boring. Because every other Australian Prime Minister had their own official sign name. Look, I'll run you through a few of them, all right? These are official Auslan sign names, okay? John Howard. John Howard, true story. Kevin Rudd which is just 7, Kevin 07, that's pretty boring. Julia Gillard, because we're big nose, Julia Gillard. Tony Abbott, same reason. Big ears. Yeah, Malcolm Turnbull. Now, there's nothing that stood out about the way Malcolm Turnbull looked. So there's nothing to base the sign name on there. So he got a sign name sort of more based on the way he was as a politician, right? And he got this sign name, Turnbull, which is T for Turnbull, and bull as in bullshit. Even though the deaf community couldn't hear him. They knew he was talking bullshit. They gave him that sign name, T bullshit. So like I said, yeah, Scott Morrison, he never got a sign name. And Anthony Albanese, he's just come in. So he hasn't got one yet. He hasn't done anything yet. But something will develop for him. It just hasn't yet. So I'm thinking what it's going to be, you know, like nothing about the way he looks really stands out. So I'm thinking maybe his sign name could be something like drinking beer, drinking, really drunk, because his initials are AA. Or then I'm thinking maybe his sign name could be sort of based on the way his name sounds. Could be something like this. Elbow, Kneesy. I know, it's great. It's like an Aussie tribal dance. Elbow, Kneesy. Elbow, Kneesy. Elbow, Kneesy. I think that'd be pretty cool, you know. If they're welcoming him onto some big international event, you know, we'd like to welcome on the Australian Prime, we'd like to welcome on the Honourable Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, and he walks on, and in the corner there's a sign language interpreter just going, that's how you welcome on a Prime Minister. So, actually, I'll just leave you alone. Well, I did actually come up with a sign name for Scott Morrison. I think he deserved one. He was an interesting Prime Minister. So I'll just leave you with this. The sign name I came up with Scott Morrison, right? Again, nothing stood out about the way he looks. So I sort of based the sign name on it for him, sort of more the way he was as a politician, like with Malcolm Turnbull sort of thing. So this is what I've come up with for Scott Morrison, right? This is my sign for Scott Morrison. Scott Morrison. Right? Scott Morrison. I'll explain to you what it means in Auslan, okay? In Auslan, this is the sign for not my problem, not my responsibility. And this is the old sign for holiday. So essentially it's Scott Morrison, not my problem, I'm on holidays. And also, for people who don't know Auslan, kind of looks like you're saying, I'm lying my tits off, fuck yous all. So I think it's a beautiful summary of our ex-Prime Minister, and also what we did to him a few weeks ago. Thank you very much, I've been Pet.
Ben Richardson!